Good afternoon, guys. It's January 12th, 2022, and you're here to watch the Awesome 10X Philippine Market Update. And today we're going to talk about letter D, as in dividends. We're going to talk about dividends, buybacks, and a lot of companies that you can make money from in the Philippines by just investing in them. If you own them, you can passively earn the 5% or 4% dividends that they actually are issuing. Some of them are actually giving more than 10% dividends. So let's go through this. So for all the Philippine stock investors or beginners, you can always go to pledge.pse.com.ph. You can actually read all the company announcements because those are the most important thing that any investor has to take a look at, trader or investor. So today you could see the press releases, the declaration of cash dividends of RFM. Let's go through these. So some news here. Declares 394 million pesos of cash dividends as 2021 sales of RFM grew to about 16.8 billion pesos. So RFM is a smaller URC. They manufacture food and beverage like your ice cream. And they have earned as much as 394 million. Okay, so sorry, they didn't earn just 394 million. That is just the cash dividends that they've declared, which comes from the unrestricted retained earnings from last year. So let's go through these and read this up. Company press release. We're also seeing that RFM wants to have a consistent 5% dividend policy for the year. Let's just go through this. So the board of directors of RFM said that they would be paying a cash dividend of as much as 394 million pesos. Mr. Concepcion, Go Negosyo, is looking to more dividend payments, perhaps quarterly. So every quarter instead of just twice a year, and targeting about 5% dividend yield. So it's currently about 4.5. So if it's targeting about 5% dividend yield, that's about 20 to 25 cents. So far, they said that RFM is going to have a 60% payout ratio. And they want to even improve this, maybe improve it about 70%, given the cash accumulation and performance of their brands. So far, their revenues is over 16 billion pesos, 16.8 billion, showing a decent growth of about 2020. Income is flat versus 2021's 1.29 billion pesos. Still great, 1.29 billion. Their ice cream business with Unilever actually saw a good year in 2021, despite the cost pressures from Selecta Milk, as well as their spaghetti brands, Fiesta and Royal Pasta, sustaining sales growth momentum with a good lift from LGU demand in the last quarter. White King mixes, which is like the pancake mixes, is that in their institutional flour and bun line businesses remain in growth mode. So that's not bad. 7% sales growth in a very tough year, guys, is great. And however, let's just read through this. The inflation from elevated wheat, milk, and key raw mats are dampening expansion of our net income. The good thing, though, is that our ice cream unit, despite the cost pressure, is actually able to pass on the impact through the through cost, right? The prices. So RFM is gonna probably continue to have margin stresses even as they are trying to expand their warehouse and become more efficient in their production, increasing the volume from better demand and new product releases. RFM still is debt free, so that's a good thing. That's why they can use all their excess cash to do what? Implement a share buyback and to increase dividend payout on top of just funding all their necessary capex. So I like this. I think that RFM is doing well. And let's just go through this. This is nice, guys. RFM Corporation for the last 8 years actually stayed between 4 pesos and 8 pesos. So you're actually seeing that RFM over the last 8 years actually just accumulated so much cash. So if they're earning about 1 billion pesos, let's take a look. How much is the PE ratio today of RFM Corporation? How do we do that? It's very simple. Here in WealthSec, so, oh, sorry, oops, sorry. I am, so here in WealthSec, you can actually take a look at RFM. So RFM, you're going to be able to see outstanding number of shares. So public ownership report, quarterly report, you can see that, wait lang sandali. So the market is still open. So wait, tingnan natin yung stats. Okay, so analytics tayo. So this is something that you can see in WealthSec. I'm not sure about all platforms, but I guess like a lot of other platforms also has this. Either way, of course, pseudo promote, if you want to open a Philippine brokerage firm, you can open with WealthTech. Okay, so this is how it looks like. All right, so let's look at as I said, let's take a look at RFM. No, so RFM is in the food business, so it's probably here in the service business ba si ano? Nandito ba si RFM? Wala sa service business. Wait up. Check ko nga. Kasi na shares. All shares na lang tayo, ha? All shares. Tapos the code is R. So RFM, ABCDFG, HIL, yun, R. Yun, RFM yun. So RFM's market cap is about 15 billion pesos. So it's about trading at about, magkano? 15 divided by 1.3, guys. Nasa mga roughly 11 times multiple, 11 to 12 times. So hindi siya mahal, but it's growing at about 6%. And so ano siya, it's been from a last 8 years, makita nyo naman, RFM has just been trading between 4 and 6, no? And sometimes nakaka-jamba na 650. So I think like what's happening with RFM is because they know that they are undervalued, or even if hindi naman sila sobrang making a lot of money, they know that they have a lot to pay out in cash. It's a great thing, if you'll ask me, that they decided to have a consistent dividend policy of at least 5%. So I think what's gonna happen here, guys, is that this 4 peso 50 cents is gonna have a ton of support buyers, and maybe it's insider buyback, share buybacks, but at least 450 to 4, we can see that the downside is minimal here, about 4. And then obviously, maliit din naman yung upside, but it's really good, guys, kasi I'm telling you a story now. I'm also telling my Awesome 10X members here that it's very nice to earn, let's say, kahit na 250,000 pesos mo lang yan, kumita ka ng 4%, let's say hindi 5%, 10,000 pesos, guys, maganda pa rin yun, yung gising mo na, uy, yung 250,000 pesos ko na nilagay sa RFM, binigyan ako ng 10,000 pesos for the year. Or what else are the companies in the Philippines that give you that 5%, 7%, 8% dividend yield? Let's talk about a few dividend names. Nicolasia actually paid 80 cents, a whopping 80 centavo last year. You can clearly see it naman. How do you know that? You just go to PSE Edge, go to nickel, and then I can actually look at the dividends and rights. This is the column. You could see that you have to add all the dividends. So, i-add mo yan. So, nung March, nagbayad siya ng, add mo yan, 22 plus 23 cents. And the beautiful thing, guys, is actually nag-add pa to ng special cash dividends. Common to may special cash divs pa yan na binigay, which you could actually see in the company disclosures. So, now, obviously, minsan kasi may spike of Nickel Asia's profits because you could see naman that nickel as a whole has been rising simply because of the electrification, and we do need a lot of batteries, right? So batteries is, natuto na tayo dyan, alam na natin yan, di ba? It's lithium, it's nickel, it's copper. And dahil doon, nagkaroon ng surge yung nickel prices and lithium prices and copper prices, all because of the secular trend of electric vehicles. So, we know that this nickel is still rising. May pullback pa minsan-minsan, but it's been really on an uptrend. So, talagang may shortage tayo for these types of commodities because there's a lot of demand. Nakita niyo naman, Tesla had just delivered 1 million vehicles. No, last quarter, recent report nila, quarterly. So, ang galing, di ba? So, yun, what I'm saying here is that there's a lot of demand, like si Ford, si GM, ganda ng mga reports. So talaga even Toyota. Toyota just said that they top GM in terms of the strongest sales. Kaya nga nag-all-time high si Toyota Motors, guys eh. Kaboom! Natin yung chart ng Toyota. Kaboom! O, mga Toyota Motors. That was after a very good earnings report. After I think they mentioned, basahin na lang na, well, kasi Philippine report to, but you get my point na obviously because there's a secular trend that electric vehicles are all doing well, from actually not all electric vehicles. Yung iba supalpal, yung iba pangit. Pero for Toyota, for Tesla, medyo okay. XPeng actually did well in terms of deliveries. It exceeded the estimates But for Chinese cars like Neoli, Xpeng, okay naman. But the thing is, medyo price for perfection din. Kaya you're seeing the valuation wobble. Yun, unlike yung mga Volkswagen and Toyota Motors, traditional car makers, yeah. For GM also, managed to beat expectations, nag-increase outlook, kaya diretso sila. Either way, di mahal, hindi na kasi mura for the GM. So medyo, be a bit aware of that. So anyway, yun yung reason kaya malakas yung nickel. And the nice thing is, since malakas yung demand for nickel, malakas din yung profits ni Nickel Asia, what's happy is that you can see the dividends. So dividends of Nickel Asia is actually as high as 80 cents given last year, which at 5 pesos, that's about 16%. Now, let's assume na, sige, nickel won't give about as huge of a cash div. Let's say 40 cents na lang, the regular cash div. At 5.4, okay pa rin. Like, if you put 8% dividend, ibig sabihin, if you put 100,000 pesos, natutulog ka lang, for the next year, meron ka pa rin 8,000 pesos. So that's actually, I think, what's happening right now with Nickel Asia. You've got a secular trend, may growth, the earnings are growing, that's why they're able to pay out. And is it also true that Nickel Asia is the only one that's paying dividends? To be fair, guys, I was also surprised. Uy, si Mark Ventures pala nagbigay ng dividend. Nagulat din ako dito, guys. So actually, nung December 2021, nagbigay si Mr. Mark Ventures ng 26 centavos. So assuming that Mark Ventures will continue to give a lot of dividends for the next year and the next year, next year, I think that we are seeing here already that Mark Ventures could be bottoming out. So even from a chart perspective, mukhang wow, nagbo-bottom pala tong chart pattern ni Mark Ventures. And kasi even now the difference is that hindi ko alam kung Mark Ventures will always pay dividends. Kasi si RFM, nagsabi na siya na we really want to be a dividend policy maker na mag 5%. Si Mark Ventures, kasi ang laki ng binigay niya, minsan nakakaduda rin if kaya ba nila, if every year mo yan gagawin. So here, nagbigay siya ng 13 cents. Actually, na-double at ito eh. 13 cents. Even at 13 cents, no? If the stock is trading at about $1.35, 10% yield yon. So let's just go through some of these dividend moves, no? Declaration of cash dividends, November 22, 2021, November 12, press release. Let's read this, guys. Okay, so November 12, there is a 790 million income surge for Mark Ventures. The income was a robust third quarter performance amidst the unstable weather conditions on the first half of the year, coupled with difficulties brought by the pandemic. Mark's net income rose 800 million pesos with a 30% increase amounting to 180 million, bringing a solid growth of about 600 million. This is a 384% rise compared to last year's income of 160 million. So gets mo, kumita siya ng malaki simply because umakyat yung nickel prices. Now let's just read through this. Mark Ventures year-to-date revenue of about 2.8 billion is actually 7% lower than their 3 billion peso target, but it actually is showing a major growth from the 1 billion pesos or a 60% increase, side by side with last year's revenue of about 1.7 billion. So bakit nag-i-increase? Let's go through this. With significant changes in operations and management, support of the LGUs, government agencies, were able to complete 25 shipments in the third quarter, bringing the year-to-date total to about 30. It missed the target of 31, but we surpassed last year's 22 boat loads. The mining company's cost of sales also posted a 15% dip. The budget increase volume brought about by efficient sales and production. Year-to-date net income is about 900 million. Solid financial standing signifies the commitment to preserve environment and health assistance to all 42 communities in municipalities Cantillán, Carrascal, Madrid, Surigao del Sur. Guys, we covered Nickel Asia in a deep dive. You can, if this is your very first time watching us on the channel, why don't you please like and subscribe that so that more people can watch our videos for Philippines channel. Paminsan-minsan naman ng Philippines, once a week lang. So baybayan nyo na. Paminsan na nga lang di ba? Philippine market updates. Now, yung maganda kasi sa Nickel Asia is we've said nga may secular trend. Punta kayo sa coverage namin sa Nickel Asia. So we gave a buy call on Nickel Asia since about 2 pesos yan or something. Nickel, awesome 10x. And then we also made the deep dive that it is more than mining. Company deep dive streamed 8 months ago. So yeah, I do believe that there is a strong commodity uptrend simply because yun nga, we have demand pero hindi naman tayo manganganak ng maraming nickel every time. So kung talagang the mine only has that much, the more that you can produce, ipipick up mo yan, di ba? Ikukuha mo yon sa lupa, yun yung ibabayad mo kay Tesla para magawa niyo yung mga batteries niya. And I think because nagkaka-shortage, a lot of nickel miners are getting a better price that they could sell from. So here, I can just tell you na, oy, maganda yung chart pattern from about 2018 all the way to 2021. Mukhang nagkonso si Mark. And with that 400% growth rates and a dividend policy, ang kulang na lang kay Mark is tuloy-tuloyin mo ang dividend policy, Mr. Mark. Kung talagang i-dividends mo yan every single year, kung maganda yung earnings mo, maganda yung payout mo, I think people will buy Mark Ventures. Now, si FNI, kamusta naman? I took a look. Aba, nagulat din ako, guys. Lahat ng nickel companies kumita ng salapi, cash. Of course, dividends has to do with earnings, guys. So let's just go through dividends here. Kasi wala ka nang may isyong 10-cent dividend kung wala kang earnings, di ba? Even at 10 centavos, why did the company issue this declaration? Kasi, syempre, kumita, no? Quarterly report. Let's go through the press releases. Read tayo, ha? Read. Global's net income is up 20% to 1.86 billion. So, mapapansin nyo naman, yung isa, 900 million income, napaka-generous magbigay ng dividendo. Ito, 1.86 billion ng income, pero 10 centavos lang binigay. So, mas tipid siya in terms of bayaran ng dividend. But still, guys, 10 centavos is not so bad. So the country's second largest nickel ore producer produced net income in the quarter of 1.22 billion. Now the total earnings is now 1.86 billion. The sale of nickel ore for the last 9 months was 4.228 million wet metric tons, lowered by 33%. This is mainly due to bad weather conditions. We were able to ship 78 vessels of nickel ore against 80 vessels during the same period last year. These were exported 100% to China, consist of 3 million metric tons. We are happy with the results despite heavy rains. The overall average realized nickel ore prices was $30, guys, per metric ton compared to 25. So parang 20% increase. So kahit na lumit yung volume, mataas naman yung presyo, todo income up din 20%. So, I think like in general, nakikita niyo yung pattern, industry-wise, it's not because nickel is better or it's FNI or Mark, the industry as a whole is getting a nickel shortage. Therefore, the prices of nickel have been increasing. May actual demand from the EVs, kitang-kita naman yan. The batteries are getting you need batteries for EVs, which necessitates lithium and nickel. Hindi rin naman nickel lang yan eh. Makikita mo na yung galaw niyan sa lithium. Tingnan niyo yung galaw ng mga Albemarle, di ba? O boom, lithium. Although may drop yan, no? To 280, bagsak sa mga 220, rally 240, may konting drop. But still, ito yung nangyari sa lithium miner. Albemarle is the largest lithium miner in the world, from about $40 to 280 or 7x move. So you can see here, guys, na yung usapan ng Nicolasia, okay, so let's assume na lang, simple lang, dividend na lang. If it can pay dividends of about 40 cents because it's earning the same and it's able to do the same volume, what we can see here is that mukhang $4 peso 99 cents. The prior resistance is now the support. Nakita natin to. This is a healthy pullback, a healthy consolidation, and it can actually trade within a range. 5 to 6 tayo, magiging mature growth investing company si Nicolasia, which is just really plowing all that cash as a distribution dividend to you, giving you a thank you for, well, it's a great year, we made earnings, special divs namin kayo. So I think like it's a good dividend play that you can think about. Nicolasia, kind of good. Mark Ventures, kind of good. FNI, actually kind of good. I just don't know if they have a real dividend policy na itutuloy-tuloy nila. So either tanungin nyo sila, oy, every year na ba kayo na dividend policy? Or what, no? So yun yung something na you have to think about. Now, in terms of other investment dividend ideas, let's go through a few things na interesting announcements in the edge.tsc.com. I forgot to tell you. Ang nga pala, si DMC is also, di ba, DMC, meron silang, meron silang dividend policy rin. So it's also a good thing, no? So I'll give you, so today's topic is Dividendo, 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 dividend, 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 dividend is our topic for 2022. So DMCI, guys, you can see already that this is already a bigger pullback is an entry, and people actually bought the dip, dip, bought dip, diba? O yan, binili 6, 4, 5, diba? So we were actually very bullish even at 4, diba? We're saying there's more than meets the eye because DMC has a ton of businesses, including the water. Actually, in terms of the water, nagdagdag po si DMC. We can already see that in the disclosure, material informations and transactions. Basa po, guys. All right. So over the last few days, Maynilad, which is a franchise to establish, operate, maintain a waterworks system and sewerage and sanitation services in Metro Manila and province of Cavite. So, meron silang 25 years na franchise para mag-serve ng West Zone service area of Metro Manila. Guys, if you have a 25-year franchise granted, obviously that is a revenue that will basically sustain the earnings capability of DMCI. So it's a good thing. And it's actually able to yeah, so here's what's happening, no? So si DMCI, you've got what? The business of construction, you've got the business of the water. It's a conglomerate that has been a part owner of Semirara, which is also power and coal. So here you can already see that Semirara is actually doing what? Okay, Semirara issues dividends too. So tingnan natin parehas to. DMC is actually giving a consistent dividend of about 40 centavos, not bad. Minsan better, minsan actually tingnan natin. I think last year nagbigay to, was it? Magkano nga binigay to? Malaki binigay na dividends ni DMCI. Parang piso eh. Piso ba? So, kasi may special cash pa siya na binigay eh. So, 48 plus 48 is 96 centavos, almost piso. But assume natin wala na yung mga special divs, no? Kahit na 48 cents lang. Okay pa rin ba kung 48 cents? Pwede pa rin. That's 5%. That means that pinasukan mo ng 100,000 pesos si DMCI, binigyan ka ng 5,000 pesos, better than time deposit, and it's really earning money. So, ang usapan dito, is earnings growing and are they willing to pay those earnings for you as a dividend payout? The answer is yes. Kasi ganyan si DMCI. It's a very good, well-run company. Kahit nagkakaroon ng, sometimes, syempre, the earnings would fall. But if the earnings rise, willing to give the divs yan. So, I think the stability is the reason why dividend play na to si DMCI for me. Now, let's take a look as well yung Semirara, no? Mali, CM Cement po to. Oops. Semirara Mining. Ganda, buti na lang sa trading view. Kasi madalas din ako nag-trading view, mag-chart. So, mas okay na hindi ko na kailangan iba-ibang website. Nasa isang trading view na lang, kaboom. Okay, so you can see na, syempre, si Semirara, there was a point in time na there was a huge transition to electric and people were thinking na baka patay na yung coal kasi nagsasarado lahat ng coal plants all over the world. Because it is more, dirty fuel, diba? Climate change, kailangan decarbonization. But the problem in the world is that no matter if we want to transition to clean energy in 1 minute, di rin kaya, guys. It takes a decade, maybe. So, Aboitiz Power is doing that renewable. Si Semirara, I think, expressed that they want to do more renewable energies. But syempre, they're still largely coal plants. So, the nice thing, though, is that since the world has an energy shortage, and the Philippines obviously needs electricity, kahit galing pa yan sa coal plants, kukunin yan, basta energy. So what happened here at Semirara is nagkontang reversal yan. From 12 pesos, nag-23, also because coal as a whole went up. The commodity of coal went up. Kasi nagkaroon ng resumption of recovery. Nag-pandemic tayo, pero nag-recover naman. Lumabas ka sa labas, meron ng kotseng gumagalaw sa road. So, paano gumagalaw yung mga kotseng yun? Gumagamit sila ng oil, gumagamit sila ng coal. So, you can actually already see that Semirara has been rising. Ayun yun, recovery play yan. So, we're also seeing na si Semirara, so far, ganun din siya. Like the daughter, like the son, like the father and the mother, they have a consistent dividend policy. So it has paid noong October 2021 and April, add that up, 2 pesos, 3 pesos yan. So sabihin na natin, ang binabayad na lang nila is 2 pesos na lang. Let's say bumababa kasi yung earnings over time. Kasi yun yung naging problem ni Semirara, bumababa yung earnings over time. Sabihin natin yung 3 naging 2 pesos, no? So at 23, 24 pesos, 2 pesos still what? more than 5% divs. So I think like meron na tao nagtitingin dyan na, at 20 pesos, okay pa rin sa akin si Semirara, willing ako kasi may dividend yan, lalala. And over the last 10 years naman, from 2013 to 2022, 2023, we do think, ako personally, I think, consistent yung dividend policy. So mangyayari dyan, if earnings grew, edi mas malaki mabibigay na divs. Pag earnings is flat, edi ganyan lang yan. How did the earnings of Semirara go last year? Paano yon, guys? Basa tayo. Company disclosures. Ano nga naman alam natin yung mundo. Basa tayo ng earnings. Andito lang yan. Press release. October 29, 2021, lalala. Okay. Semirara, 9-month earnings top pre-pandemic level. Semirara reported a 240% surge in net income from 3 to 10 billion pesos. Ito ba ang company na naghihirap? Naghihingalo? Hindi raw. May net income sila of 10 billion pesos. This triple-digit growth comes about because of the 38% rise in the selling price of coal and the 51% upturn in the sales volume of coal. So, nag-grow na yung sales mo, nag-grow pa yung presyo, bonanza, di ba? Wowza. So, we expect our coal segment to continue to do well for the rest of the year. Third quarter alone, Semirara netted 4 billion pesos in just one quarter. 6x the 750 million earnings it recorded last year. So, the dramatic spike in coal comes about because of the demand and supply imbalance owing to China's ban on Australian coal. Strong rebound in economic activity, the low stockpile in China, Europe, and India, and all the COVID-19 restrictions. So, naka-bounce back, aka naka-recover po si Semirara. So, ano yung mga natutunan nyo today? Dividendo, coal prices, Semirara, DMC, FNI, nickel, Mark Ventures. Now, isa pang pag-usapan natin. Oil naman. Si oil naman. Okay. We already know that the people are already going out. Lumalabas po sila. Okay? Lumalabas po sila at nag-mobile nakalabas ba sila na naglalakad? Yes, some are walking, some are using what? Cars. Yung iba nag-travel pa, 'di ba? Nag-airplane. Okay. So we can clearly see that Petron has been a dead stock, no? For the last year, 2020, from 3 umangat ng 4, tapos patay sa 3, up sa 4.3, tapos 3.30 ngayon. Okay, the catalyst of Petron in my view would have to be lower losses. Kasi syempre, kung loss ka, wala kang mabibigyan na dividend. So, yun yung sad part, no? Tingnan natin kung may income na ba to or losses pa. Basahin natin na. Kasi kung losses, wala siyang mabibigay na dividend, obviously. So marami siyang cash dividends, binibigay niya lahat sa preferred shareholders kasi may utang. Okay? So, puro sa preferreds. So, lahat ng material information ni Petron, puro mga bayad sa preferreds. So, kung Petron Corp preferred shareholder ka, you get the divs. So, yun yung nangyayari sa Petron. Ang nakakakuha ng mga dividendo is Petron, PRF3B, PRF3A, blah, blah, blah. So, puntahan natin yung PRF3B, PRF3A, magkano yung mga dividendong binigay, and preferred shares, Petron Corporation, preferred shares. Magkano ba to? Issued 1,000 o 1,019, nagbigay ng 10%. Tapos, 17 pesos every quarter. So mga 8% yield. Kaya people are still in love because of this yield. So we're talking about the yield play. Si Petron, namimigay siya through the preferred. So you are seeing that everyone's putting their cash to work pa rin sa market through preferred shares, through these dividend paying companies. Kasi okay bang matulog at gumising na bayaran ka na lang ng 17,000 pesos? Let's say you have 1,000 shares of Petron, aka may 1,000,000 piso ka na nilagay sa Petron at binayaran ka ng 20,000 pesos, natutulog ka lang every quarter kasi every quarter, obligado niya siya di ba? Every quarter yan nagbabayad. So I think like Petron is a good preferred share. So ayan, nandyan naman. And kita naman yan, nagbayad ng cash, divs. So magbabayad siya ex-date May 31. So I do expect tong si Petron preferreds, matutulog lang naman yan. So 1,090, hindi naman like up yung presyo, pero you receive the divs. So lahat ng mga may presyong 1,000, hindi rin yan magbabato kasi happy na sila sa divs, and if ever man na bumabaya ng 1,040, marami pa rin willing to buy kasi 90 pesos, sabihin na natin 80 pesos, divide mo sa 1,040, kahit nabayaran mo yon, kano yung nakuha mo. Still, I think mga 5% divs yun, no? Tama ba? O, kayo na lang mag-math. 80 divided by 1,040 is how much? O, yun na yun. Yun na yung dividends mo. Okay, so what else should we talk about? Yeah, so actually, the dividend theme is happening all throughout the world kasi it's a safe haven. Yan, tulak ExxonMobil, kaboom, 60, 50, nag-70 na nga 55, nag-70. So the thing about oil is that nag-recover talaga, kaya shoot up yung mga ExxonMobil, shoot up yung mga Chevron. It's really the tale of the big oil comeback. Kaboom, ayun Chevron, no? Royal Dutch Shell, RDS, ito, RDSA, para sa New York Stock Exchange tayo. Boom. So you can clearly see the trajectory up yung mga oils. Kasi bakit? Ito yung crude oil. Crude oil. Crude oils nasa mga $80. Kaboom. Nagpa-buy pa nga tayo ng pullback dito sa 67 eh. So yeah, we can clearly see that oil, commodities, coal, nickel, yan. Maganda yung mga earnings. May pambayad ng dividendo. If you want that, go for that. So, are there any questions? Let's see. It means nickel is greater than oil, natulog pa din. Actually, ang question po ninyo is, I think from an earnings standpoint, maganda na talaga yung pinapakita ng nickel. Kaya I think a lot of people, mas tiwala sila na, uy, maganda na sila nickel kasi ang daming dividends na binibigay. Whether it be Nickel Asia, or FNI or Mark Ventures. So yung tatlong yun, parang nagkakaroon ng uptrends na, di ba? Sustainable. Now, ang di ko lang alam is every year ba nila ibibigay yung dividends, di ba? So, yun lang yung risk mo na kumita nga yung company, di naman nabigyan ng dividend, ang damot, pwede rin naman yun, di ba guys? But I think like in terms of dividend policy and history, nakita natin na si Nickel Asia, si Semirara, so nickel and coal, kasi Semirara is coal, di ba? So, Nickel Asia and Semirara and DMCI seems to have been a very much consistent dividend payout player. Nagiging consistent yata ngayon si RFM. Let's take a look kung talagang tutuloyin nila yung 5% dividend policy. Kasi if totoo yun, mangyayari dyan, laging may buyers sa 4.5 for RFM. For a 5% div, meron naman papatol niyan. Now, flat growth, pero people will buy it for the divs. Petron would be bought yung preferred shares dahil nga dun sa consistent na 8% yield or 6% yield. There's a question, no? Let's read the question. What is your take on Figaro IPO? Hindi ko po nabasa and I personally think that, sorry pero mas Starbucks fan kasi ako eh. So I'd rather go for Starbucks in the US, S-Bucks ako. I have a buy on Starbucks at about $80 to $90. Hintayin nyo na lang na Starbucks bumaba. But I think there's operational expenses kasi with coffee chains. If my understanding is correct, when you are a fast food chain or a coffee chain, revenues would be flattish pa kasi hindi pa super nagre-recover talaga yung mobility. Hindi pa talaga super recover. But I do believe na kung presyo naman is more, hindi ko nabasa, sorry yung Figaro, so I can't comment on that. But let me talk about a different coffee stock, which is Starbucks. Starbucks is a good dividend player. Starbucks pays about $2. So if you can get it about $80, I think kasi na you might say, nako, ang liit ng pera ko, $2 lang tatanggapin ko sa 80. Don't worry kasi consistent na nag-i-increase ng dividends si Starbucks. Like, kunwari, $2 mo natanggap ngayon this year. Next year, bibigyan ka niya $2.20, $2.40, $2.80. So, consistent dividend grower si Starbucks. Kaya dahil sa consistent dividends niya, yung 80 na yun, magiging 90, magiging 100, magiging 120. So, let's assume meron kang 1,000 shares of Starbucks. Aba, bongga, may 4 million ka. $80,000 mo, magiging $110,000 yan. Give it about 5 years time. Ang pinaka-big risk lang ng Starbucks is the labor union. Kasi in the US, may labor unions. So the global entities, meron silang wage growth, inflationary pressure. But I think that they're able to pass on the cost. Kasi, alam mo, mga tao sa mundo, ako rin, kahit na sobrang mahal ng Starbucks, willing to pay pa rin eh. 170 pesos, $3, $4. Sa US, $5 na nga. Yun, mahal na yung coffee, pero people are still willing to pay. So if they're able to show that it's a inflationary, resilient business, which I think Starbucks is, I prefer owning Starbucks. Doon tayo sa veterano na coffee, ha? Okay, there's a question. URC, please. URC is a good company. Ang kulang ko lang na idea sa URC so far is kasi today's topic is dividends, no? URC I like, URC Monde kasi staples. So URC has paid naman 3 peso 30 cents. So okay naman. Honestly, si URC, flattish growth siya eh. Hindi siya like super growth like the nickels, which is obvious kasi sa business naman ng kape at ng tsokolate at junk food, guys, hindi naman tayo kumakain ng 300% more VCAT. Bakit? Kumain ka ba ng 300% more VCAT during pandemic? Eh di sobrang taba mo na nun kung ginawa mo yun, di ba? Kumain ka ba ng mas maraming C2? But this is what's nice, no? So you're seeing share buybacks. Share buyback transaction, basahin natin to. Acquisitions, there's a question on URC, so basahin natin yung mga nangyari. So si URC may buyback program, 128 pesos. That's good. So they have cash. Kaya syempre, if you have cash, you have two choices. Magbigay ng dividends or mag-share buyback. And they felt that okay naman yung 3 pesos nila na cash div. So aside from doing cash div, they're also doing the buyback. So I think okay ako. Full disclosure, I do like URC 128, 127. I think it's a good buy. Even if it goes 120 bucks, sige lang. Let's also read this too. URC announces an acquisition of Munchies, a leading biscuit company in Malaysia. So aside from the fact na matino naman na kasi yung business ni URC, they're using also some of their cash to acquire. So syempre, if you have a lot of cash, you have two choices. You want to grow your earnings. Sometimes you grow the earnings organically or through acquisition. So basahin muna natin to. URC said that one of the largest branded food and beverage companies in the Philippines, maging proud tayo kasi largest yan sa ASEAN. URC Snack Foods Malaysia actually reached a partnership with CVC to acquire 100% stake. So hindi pala partnership, full ownership of Munchies for 1.925 billion Malaysian ringgit on a cash-free, debt-free basis. Yaman, no? Munchies is Malaysia's #1 biscuit brand. Munchies cream crackers, Lexus cream sandwich, oat crunch, music wafer, choco cookies, are on all the retail outlets in Malaysia, more than 50 countries globally. So Mr. Erwin Lee, President CEO of URC, said, URC is delighted to announce the acquisition of Munchies, which will add immediate value to our international product portfolio. It will scale up our Malaysian market position, leadership in the biscuit category, strong brands, talented orgs, operational excellence, great strategic fit with URC, unlocking synergies in Malaysia as well as across the ASEAN region. Sir Alvin Lim, the Senior Managing Director of CVC, said, this is a highly successful partnership between CVC and the excellent leadership team at Munchies. And we're able to grow and launch more products. URC is the perfect new home for Munchies, and we wish them the very best of the future. I love the transaction. I don't know how much the sales price was paid for this. But I do see the synergy. Nakikita ko kasi you've got a distribution arm, you've got a product, and it's good for URC to grow in a very dynamic country like Malaysia. We know that Malaysia, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, that's a young population na nag-grow. The population growth of the Philippines, the population growth of Indonesia. We are next to become the the entire Southeast Asia, hindi naman like Philippines lang. Grabe naman, 100 million tayo, maging 1 billion tayo. Grabe, di ba? Ang sikip nun. Magiging 1 billion people ang ASEAN nation. And so, being primary snack and foods giant in a 1 billion population is very good. So, if you ask me, guys, URC kasi, okay, bias tayo dyan, nagbigay tayo ng buy reco dyan ever since bumaba si URC, ever since pandemic, we were already bullish on that. Hanggang ngayon, bullish pa rin tayo. And we actually think, guys, that consumer staple like URC is gonna be well-loved. So, actually, at 127, 126, itong presyong to, buy tayo dyan. Nako, kahit mag-110 yan, hindi nyo ako mapapalabas sa love natin na URC, no? So we've got a ton of support here, even at 111. I think that the market is very patient that, syempre, the growth wave kasi of URC is not naman super high, no? Kasi we're talking about a giant already. So the way to attack a URC is, okay ka na dapat sa 3% divs. Kunwari, meron kang 100,000. O naglagay ka ng 1,000 share, 128,000. Binayaran ka ng 3,000 pesos every year. Don't worry, kasi yung 3,000 magiging 4,000 next year, magiging 5,000 next year, yung 100K mo nagiging. Bakit umaangat yung dividends? Simply because they are growing the earnings, and therefore, if they pay the same payout ratio, mataas naman yung ibabayad nilang dividendo sa'yo over time. And as earnings grow, obviously may re-rating yan, tataas yan, magiging, if they are earning, let's say, tingnan natin, kumita siya na magkano. Let's go to the press release. Ito, quarterly report. Magkano na ba? 10 billion pesos? Teka, total assets, total liabilities, revenues is 28 billion. Income is, there was a time na 10 billion pesos current year to date. Tama, 10 pa rin. Umangat, 10 billion. Hindi naman problema. Nga, meron siyang earnings nga. Sa 4 pesos na kinita niya, 4.8, they paid about 3 pesos. So, mangyayari dyan, about 60 to 70% ipipay out niya. Consistent naman si URC, guys. So ako, for me, buy and hold yan. Okay si URC. Pag bumaba, buy lang tayo, 111, 110, 100 pesos. To hell daycare. We know what we bought, di ba? Ang awesome 10x portfolio dividends, marunong tayo, buy, keep. Kung gusto ibenta, 140, 150, up to you naman. Is Monde still a buy? Opo, yes. I like Monde. Actually, it's also the same flat growth with flat 6% growth, pero okay. Kasi for me, hindi naman mataas yung expectation ko sa mga Monde, tsaka sa mga URC. If they can grow 10%, happy na ako dyan. If they can make that 10 billion become 11 billion pesos, ang ganda na nun. 11, mag-12, 12, mag-13. Kahit ganun lang na growth kay URC, happy na ako doon. So, hindi ako nag-ask for more. Hindi ako nagsasabi na mag-3x kayo, mag-5x kayo ng growth. Hindi. So, for URC and Monde, actually, medyo the same. I kind of like them. I think they will be re-rated to about 30 times multiple. So, 30 times ng 5 pesos? 150 pesos po for URC. Now, guys, medyo 40 minutes na. If it's possible, last question na lang. Sagutin ko lang yung Monde, tapos next time na yung ibang tanong. Next Wednesday na lang po. Masyado na mahaba stream natin eh. Sagutin ko yung Monde lang. Last but not the least, Monde po. Monde Nissin, sagutin natin. Okay. Monde Nissin is consumer staple. I think like the nice thing about Monde Nissin is that obviously we know that we all consume their products. Mamon, cupcakes, biscuits, confectionaries, and of course their very famous Lucky Me Pancit Canton. So the thing about them is that they haven't issued a dividend. Syempre, bagong salta sa market. But of course, the market is obviously waiting for Monde to give a dividend. Kasi URC gives a dividend, RFM is now doing a cash flow dividend. So, when you are a staple, medyo pressured ka na, stable ka, dapat magbigay kang dividends. Let's go through the press release of Monde. So third quarter press release, Monde achieved record revenues, margin expansion, income growth about 9%, not so bad. Income increase for deferred income tax, blah, blah, blah. Okay, wait. So wala pa siyang na-issue na divs, no? Pero I think, yun lang talaga yung hinihintay ng tao. Now, let's assume 3% of the divs, magbibigay siguro yan ng mga 20 to 40 centavos. So I think, ganun lang naman usually ang mga ganitong klaseng company, expect 2 to 3% divs. But I think that the record cash flows that they will have is going to be distributed half to you. Kaya if you're a Monde Nissin shareholder, OX naman, I think that current level is about 15.8, 15.9, suitable to, even if it falls 15 below, accumulate ka lang, OX lang yun. Of course, may konting problema yan pag nasa mga 19, 20, or 18 above. Kasi baka medyo, 10% nga yung growth. Hindi naman tayo nag-achieve ng super stellar growth stock for this. This is a dividend play for me. Monde and URC is a dividend play for me. Okay, so ang importante lang naman guys, on every company that you own, the topic today is really, tanungin nyo sarili nyo, gusto nyo ba gumising na yung 1 milyong piso nyo sa market ay magbibigay sa inyo ng kahit na 5% man lang, 50,000 or kahit na 4% man lang on average, kahit na matulog na lang yung pera nyo dyan. Yung 1 million mo gagalaw up and down, pero may 40,000 ka na natatanggap every year. What's the definition of that? Para ka nag-invest sa isang 5 million condo na nagbibigay sa inyo ng 200,000 pesos a year. I think like a majority of the Filipinos here are mostly passive. They want to stake. Parang crypto, stake lang tayo, 5% natatanggap natin sa dollar tethers natin. So I think a majority of people are like that. And I think that is not a bad thing. So I hope that you do invest in the Philippines. And we featured these great dividend companies, and obviously you know that the dividends is only a partial payment from the earnings. If the earnings are growing, they can pay more. If the earnings are declining, they cannot pay more. So yun yung importante. If the earnings are stable, pag dividend company, the earnings are stable or growing. Yun yung importante. Hindi yung yield. Kasi the yield can go up simply because bumagsak yung presyo eh. 'Di ba? Parang nag 10% yield kasi dati 2 pesos naging piso. Alam nga naman gusto mong ganon, 'di ba? Hindi mo man gustong ganon. Gusto mo presyo static, either static or pataas. Ayun lang. So let's just discuss na lang next week for any other company. That's it. See you again. Dividends. Bye-bye.